Hello and welcome back to this video series on creating an elections dashboard in Power BI. In our previous video, we downloaded the data and ran the Python script to format. In this video, we will do some further formatting and cleaning up the data. To get started, just navigate to the folder that you have the file saved. Alright, so one thing about the Secretary of State data, not always it doesn't always have the information we need for the party identification. So I mean, on the script, it extracts this information and kind of creates a column over here, but this isn't always perfect. So you just want to double check that information. I'm not gonna go through every kind of step I did to clean the data because it's already been cleaned and uploaded in my GitHub page, but I'll just show you a few things I noticed. Alright, for like 2016 election cycles, some of the candidates do not have their party affiliation next to their name, and as such, the code identifies that as nonpartisan, which is not correct. So we're just gonna, clean one of them. And change it to the correct party. Alright, great. And for like the 2020 election, one thing I noticed was for the special election runoff, there was several different parties running, and so I don't have all those parties kind of identified in the script. But if you want to kind of do that, you can just go here and change this to independent. Alright, so like I mentioned, I'm going to go through all the cleaning of the party thing, but just double check to make sure it's identifying the correct party, because there'll be like strange values in the candidate's name and how it's labeled, and we just want to double check that. Alright, the next thing we want to do is combine all these election cycles into one workbook, and how we kind of accomplish that is go to the first one and then right click on the tab, go to move or copy, and go to new book and select the create a copy checkbox. Okay, and we're going to repeat that process for 2018 and 2020. Now for the subsequent ones that you kind of move, you could just go to the workbook that we already created. So this would be book 1, and move that to the end. Now let's just relabel these worksheet names to the appropriate election cycles. Actually, let's be a little more specific. Alright, great. Now, another thing, let's remove this column A. So this is the index column that is important for when you're running it in Python, but we really don't need that for the analysis, so let's just delete it. Easy way to do that for all three worksheets is just click on the first one and then hold down the shift key and click the last worksheet tab, and now we can just highlight column A and delete that, and as you can see it should delete all three columns. Alright, another thing we want to do is extract the precinct code from this precinct, and this will help identify the precinct with the map, and in the next video we'll show why that is important. But for now, just again highlight all three worksheet tabs, insert a column, and use this formula, left for B2 and 2. So we're essentially saying from the starting from the left, take the first two characters in this cell. Alright, we just kind of drag that down, and let's name this the precinct code, and copy and paste values. Now that should be done for all three worksheet tabs. Alright, great. Alright, our next thing we want to do is add what position each candidate finished for each individual race, and that will require another formula. So once again, select all three worksheet tabs, and on this blank column right here, type in position and write down this formula: equals count ifs criteria range AA, and we want to do the adjacent cell from here, so A2. Criteria range 2 would be the contest or column J, and the adjacent column would be J2, and we want to look at the difference in vote total, so highlight that column and do, now this is going to be a little different, we're going to do quotation mark, greater than sign, another quotation mark, the and symbol, and the adjacent column in that column, which would be I2, close the parentheses, +1. And it should identify correctly for all that. It just sometimes it'll take a minute to load, so don't worry if it's not correct. Alright, let's just double check this, if the formula was correctly done. Alright, so we can see, yes, in this precinct, Donald Trump finished second, Hillary Clinton finished first. And we're just gonna actually do all this first, and I know this already, so all the Democratic candidates in Athens, Clarke County won where there was a competitive race. The Democratic candidate usually won all the precincts, so looks like it's correctly done, and we can just tell by vote totals. Now, so let's just highlight all three worksheet tabs again and copy and paste values. This is important because it removes the formula, and the formula will make the worksheet run much slower. So we just want to kind of paste the values because we already ran the formula correctly. Alright, next thing we want to do is get the percentage of the vote for each candidate by precinct. Now, to do that, first, let's again highlight all three worksheet tabs. And for this column name, we're going to do percentage of vote. And use this formula equals the adjacent I2 column, so it'll be I2, divided by sum ifs, which would be the sum range would be the I column, the criteria range, which would be similar to the previous formula, AA, criteria would be A2, the second criteria would be the contest, and criteria 2 would be J2. Alright, click enter and give it a second to load, and it should correctly identify the percentage of the vote each candidate got. And you can double check that by just highlighting one precinct and looking at the sum total here on the bottom, so that equals 100%. Well, let's just kind of do it manually once again to just double check. So this is sum for this precinct. There was a 1613 total votes. So we're just going to take the first value and divide it by 1613, and that matches correctly. So just actually drag that down, and yeah, so the formula ran correctly. And now once again we're gonna copy and paste the values. Alright, great. One more thing actually. We're just going to change this to a percent sign. So if you click on the home tab, and I'm going to increase it to 2 decimal points. Great. Now we have the percentage of the vote, the position the candidate finished as well. Alright, now one more column of formulas that we want to do, and this will be, you kind of understand why this is important when you're doing the Power BI visualizations, but so we want to create a spectrum for the chloriplet map, and to accomplish that we're going to have to identify one party as the negative value and one party as the positive value. And this is important because let's say candidate X from party A finished with above 50% in a precinct, finished above 50% in a precinct, to kind of identify the other candidate finishing above 50% in the precinct, we have to put that as a negative value, and otherwise it won't visualize correctly. And it's not going to make much sense right now, but just trust me, you'll understand more in the next video. So with that in mind, we'll identify all candidates who are the Republican Party as having a negative percentage value. So we're going to name this P percentage of vote variance, and we're going to create a formula called if equals Republican then take this value and multiply it by -1 if that is true. Otherwise, just keep this value. Alright, so like I said, I haven't cleaned all this data up. The clean data is available on my GitHub page, but just for demonstration purposes, should have done correctly. Let's go to another year. Yeah, so yeah, the formula was done correctly, and once again, let's just copy and paste values. And change this to a percentage sign. Alright, great. Well, that will conclude this video. And our next video, we will get the map file in order to visualize the data